Okay. Welcome to our Tech Talk session. Today we are presenting cybersecurity, which will be presented by Vairajan Tiyagarajan. Okay. Just a little housekeeping before we start our session, and to you know how to participate in today's event. We have a screenshot of an example of the attendee interface. You should see something like this. Okay. On your own desktop. The control panel hides automatically when not in use. You can move your cursor to bring it back. You have the opportunity to submit text questions to today's presenter by typing your questions into the Q&A chat box of your attendee interface. You may send your questions at any time during the presentation, which will last around 30 to 40 minutes. We will collect this and address at the end of the presentation during our Q&A sessions. If you cannot locate the Q&A in your meeting control, you might click the control button with the three dots, then click on Q&A. This adds the Q&A box so that you can type in your questions. A reminder to all attendees are in mute mode, and today's presentation is being recorded, and we will share the recording soon after today's session. Next slide, please. Before we dive into presentation, I would like to introduce myself. I am Jerome Alvarez, and I am now your moderator for today. Now, without any further ado, we will turn time over to our presenter, Mr. Vairajan Tiyagarajan, who is ABB Cybersecurity Specialist based in Malaysia. Now, over to you, Vairavan.
Thank you, Jerome, and welcome everyone. Today we'll start with the safety moment, like we always do in ABB. Then we'll start with our current cybersecurity landscape. We'll go through the cyber risks and see about their mitigation. Then we'll touch on ABB's remote service. And finally, we'll have some time for questions and answers. With most of us working from home today, it's necessary to keep our home network secure. I'd like to go through a few actions that you can take in your home to protect your Wi-Fi network. Many times when we go into office, coffee shops, or campus, we see that they have segmented their wireless networks to protect the most critical data. It is actually really simple to do this in your own house. Within your home, I suggest 3 separate networks. As you can see from the slide, we recommend to keep the home network segmented into 3 different networks. Main or the primary network, which is used for you and your family's key devices such as laptops, phones, etc. A guest network, and a network for smart devices such as TVs, smart devices, smart speakers, and other smart devices we have today. While smart devices certainly make our lives easier, they are more prone to have security vulnerabilities. Segment this network to ensure you're protecting your most critical data. On your primary network, keep the password complicated. Typically, the default password is long with a mix of lower, uppercase, and a mix of special characters or numbers. For the guest network, keep the password simpler so that it is easy to share, but remember to update this password frequently. We'll start off with an overview of our current cyber landscape. Whether it is a multi-million-dollar enterprise or a 6-month-old startup, each business has its own set of vulnerabilities. Large organizations have complex systems and lots of data to monitor, thus making it easier for hackers to infiltrate. Exploiting the businesses, creating disruptions, which affects our reputation, disrupting our production process in plants, data breaches, and many other things which contribute to cyber crime, which is the greatest threat to any company in this world. These are few facts and observations. Commercial markets aspire to sell cybersecurity products and services at a premium and to differentiate in technical approach. What is needed is the application and maintenance of basic cybersecurity tools, configurations, and processes. This does not cost a lot of money, and 95% of cybersecurity breaches are due to human error. These are the few notable attacks in history, with the recent one being last year, the Indian nuclear power plant, where the IT infrastructure was compromised and fortunately the OT infrastructure was secured. Ransomware. Ransomware is a hot topic today, which still attacks growing day by day. Last year in Singapore, 21 cases were reported with an increase from the previous year to 35 cases. Ransomware lock down the system and recovery takes a lot of time, impacting our businesses. I would like to make a summary of what we mean with cybersecurity for industrial control systems. Most people have some idea of what cybersecurity means. It is generally about avoiding that a system fails or allows a person to do something unintended with the system. So basically, we want to avoid system failure due to these issues. One of the things commonly associated with cybersecurity is hacking. A person actively attacking a system to interfere with it. This is a true threat against an industrial control system, but the goal could be to stop the production in a factory or to blackmail the system owner. Another commonly known threat is a malicious software like viruses, trojans, worms, programs that live inside our systems. These are several ways malicious software can spread, and they have no specific target, but these are just bad for the affected system in any way. And a third threat that must not be forgotten is the mistakes by people who use the system. A user does something unexpected that the system cannot handle. Example like downloading software to the wrong device or plugging a network cable into the wrong port. This must not be forgotten. If the action can be done by mistake, it can possibly also done on purpose. So even unintentional changes made to the system might compromise the security features in the system. Right now, there is high-end focus on available digital solutions and hence high-end concerns about exposure to cyber risk. Cyber risk does exist, but it is indeed manageable. Exposure to vulnerability is typically in the form of malware or malicious software that is intended to cause harm to the system, or forms of malware like virus, ransomware, which are delivered typically in the form of phishing attacks or weak controls around devices such as USB. Weak controls in the sense it means the network which allows malicious actors to gain access to the network, then penetrate into the network layers to perform the actions that could potentially impact or stop plant operations. Cyber risk is brought on by connecting industrial control systems to networks with assets that may or may not have been designed with security in mind. They lack the security controls or a program structure that addresses the people, processes, and technology needs to establish an acceptable security posture. There are a few key reasons in the operational utility space, like uptime is critical and any impact to the operation can result in reputational and financial loss. Boards are starting to pay close attention to cyber risk. Cyber risk is being bucketized and evaluated in broader category of enterprise risk and the consequence that reflect it. Finally, there are many regulatory requirements that act arguably as a primary driver. At times, these regulatory requirements are enforceable and results in fine as seen in the clip here on the page. Let's start about thinking about how to address these cybersecurity risks. There is a clear gap between those that acknowledge cybersecurity risk exist and those that take action. First, there is an overload of guidance on how to approach cybersecurity. So many standards exist that there is a lack of clarity on which standard to choose. While there is a clear frontrunner standards like IEC 62443, NIST, NERC, CIP, there are so many other local standards or internal standards built of these. Further, these target keeps moving with updates to these standards. And second, the manual process in place makes basic tasks like managing an asset inventory or an inventory of all the products that we have in our network, having visibility in our environment, and knowing the assets on the network are critical and how to protect or respond in the event of an incident. Finally, most organizations receive information about point solutions that solve one piece of the puzzle rather than a holistic approach to addressing cybersecurity risk. It is hard to implement to identify the best tool which to implement first without a clear strategy in place to tackle cybersecurity. To combat this, I suggest a phased approach over time that focuses on cybersecurity capabilities rather than products, which brings me to the next slide. Maturing your cybersecurity posture takes time. As you can see on the slide here, we recommend to address cybersecurity in 3 steps. Addressing the basics or implementing the minimum cybersecurity requirements. Once in place, managing those controls in a routine manner. Finally, optimizing your program with experts and advanced operations. As mentioned on the previous page, vendors can be aggressive with point solution, and there is a tendency to reach for the next shiny object when it comes to cybersecurity. Don't do this. By addressing step 1 of the maturity model, you cover the majority of your cyber risk by applying preventive measures and limiting your attack surface. Patching, backup, restore, antivirus, hardening, event collections are security capability that have been around for a long time and are still so effective. Start here. That combined with a routine cybersecurity assessment to understand your current state posture with your goal or intended security goals. Then round this out by training your resources. It's an excellent start. From there, it's critical that the basic security controls are maintained on a regular basis, whether that's implementing updates quarterly or scanning your hardening baselines monthly to look for variances. Maintaining is important. Optimization could take over a year to accomplish if you are in the beginning of your journey. But this would include creating a security operations center with support advanced processes like incident response or threat analysis. But none of these processes are possible without first completing steps 1 and 2. The next slide is ABB's cybersecurity portfolio of products and services. You'll see that our portfolio is structured in a manner that is aligned to the phased maturity approach of implementing cybersecurity. We'll be discussing about the security controls in successive slides. But the point here is ABB has developed a portfolio to support its customers regardless their maturity stage. If you have questions related to where to start or a specific portfolio offering, etc., please reach out to us after the webinar. We'll be happy to take you through. Risk assessment. Risk assessment is a service we offer for plant operations and enterprise risk organizations to identify and prioritize cybersecurity risk associated with the industrial control systems. This is required to support alignment to the regulatory requirements and cost-effective improvement to security posture. The cybersecurity risk assessment supports plant and enterprise risk organization to understand, monitor, and address their control system cybersecurity risk. So this is necessary to identify and prioritize the risk relevant to your specific control system being evaluated. Only with this visibility, you can have assurance that they are taking strategic steps to improve the security posture. So this is how it works. The risk assessment team will complete in this manner. They'll start gathering the inputs to prepare for the high-level risk assessment. This includes collection of items like network diagrams, information on recent cybersecurity incidents, asset inventory. Then the risk assessment scoping is defined for the system under consideration. Then a high-level risk assessment, including an on-site workshop, is being conducted after review of the collected documentation. The system under consideration is divided into the zones and conduits, and the partitioning is being done. And the subsystem pinpoints where and how to address risk in the most efficient and effective manner. Typically, a zone or conduit has common cybersecurity requirements based on factors such as criticality or likelihood. Therefore, cybersecurity practices requirements can be applied similarly throughout the zone or conduit. Finally, the complete document, that is a high-level risk assessment report, is being provided for analysis and further course of action. Cybersecurity fingerprinting. By calling it fingerprinting, the system is being designed to operate in a secure zone. By default, the security controls are put in place. Fingerprinting ensures that these are not tampered and the created basic and default controls are being maintained. There is a three-part data collection. The first area is the procedures and protocols, is based on qualitative analysis and indicates how to secure it by means of written instructions and policies. The next area covers group security policies. These are policies implemented on the system, enforced from a central server or implemented on an individual computer. Last, the computer settings, which cover the settings and applications that reside on an individual computer within the system. We check all this and produce a report showing the strength and the weaknesses and making recommendations for further mitigation actions. Reference architecture. I'd like to share some context on the process of developing the reference architecture. The cybersecurity needs in our key verticals such as oil and gas, power generation, and chemicals are similar. Each vertical has implemented their own defined version of reference architecture. We have created a group with our cyber experts from each of these business lines to consolidate the best practices and come up with a reference architecture that is both broad enough to address multiple control systems, but detailed enough to be actionable for asset owners and operators. It is a guideline for adding security control pinpoints to your network to support digital solutions. This diagram is the baseline that represents the output of deep and careful thought that went into creating the ABB reference architecture for cybersecurity. When you look at this diagram, you'll notice a couple of things. First, the reference architecture places all assets, specifically the cyber equipment of the industrial control system, into a specific network level as defined in 62443. Levels 0 to 4. For those of you that are similar with the Purdue model, you'll notice that the network layers are similar. The key difference with the 62443 standard is the network level definition is the placement of the DMZ and segmenting the DMZ from the operation management functions. So this is the operation management and this is the DMZ network which is being further segmented. This reference architecture stresses the need for both a north and a south firewall to control data flow and prohibits data flow that skips a layer. That is, it is impossible to go for the data to go from level 2 to level 4. It must first pass through level 3. To fully leverage the reference architecture, a gap assessment must be completed to understand the current state of your system against the guidelines. With this result, you'll be able to identify and prioritize remediation steps according to your risk appetite. With the reference architecture in hand, asset owners can collaborate to ensure that adding security controls doesn't impact your operations or contractual agreements. such as warranties or maintenance contracts. Knowing the boundaries of the reference architecture and how to use it will help you to implement the resources and the executive team to define expectation for success and leveraging the guidance. ABB Security Workplace. We have created a security workplace in which all the basic or the minimum security controls come as a standard package. It includes antivirus, backup and disaster recovery, patch management, system hardening, and a comprehensive reporting solution, all from a single dashboard. With this application, all the minimum security controls are being implemented, deployed, and monitored and maintained with a single click of a mouse. So having this would cover most of your basic security needs, which is very easy to implement as a single product. Security update service. As a part of minimum security controls, we deploy the security patches to the system. The security patches include from Microsoft, that is Windows Server, the Windows 10 or operating systems we have, McAfee antivirus or the Symantec antivirus we have. At ABB, we validate all these updates from the respective vendors. We test it in our labs against the systems we have. And once it is tested and approved, then it is delivered to the customer side. So basically, this can be done in two ways, either through manual way in which the update is being manually downloaded and installed on the system, or an automated way in which the update is directly delivered from ABB's clouds directly to the customer premise. Having it in the automated environment will reduce workmanship and time, and reduces the time in deploying the patches. This is the patch delivery frequency. Microsoft security updates once released are tested for compatibility, and the results are published within a week. Antivirus like McAfee and Symantec are almost validated daily, and the results are published within 48 hours. Typically, Microsoft updates are released once in a month, while the antivirus definition is almost released daily. Backup and recovery management. This is a key module which help you to recover in scenarios like ransomware, where the system gets logged out and there might be threats or ransoms required to unlock the system. Having a backup in place will help you to keep your systems running by restoring the backups, the good ones, which in the system was running earlier, and to recover the system and to resume operations by having very less downtime in case of such security events. Backup would be normally accumulated at a central backup and disaster management server at the DMZ zone of the network. And backups are automatically scheduled to collect from the systems, basically the system images, on a routine scheduled service. So typically the servers would be taking it over daily, and the workstations depending on their requirement. So such that in the event of a disaster, we'd be able to restore the backups immediately and to resume operations with less downtime. Device control. Our systems have many data interfaces. Out of that, USB is the widely known one. Apart from that, we have many others like Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, FireWire, CD, DVD. All these interfaces can be accessed by hackers or anyone intentionally or unintentionally to gather data from the system, or disturb the system, or to make it slow, or something in a manner to create impact on the system. However, we cannot block all these devices as we might be using them as well. So we require a control over these orifices or ports, in which users would be given role-based controls. Let's take the USB example. There might be users who might need access to USB ports. So some users might be granted permissions to both read and write, while some set of users might be having permission only to read but not to write. And another set of users will not be able to do both read and write, completely blocked. So this is an example for USB. And similarly, the USB devices can be registered with the management server, and only registered USB devices will be recognized by the system in the network. So unknown devices or new devices will not be recognized and will not be allowed to be used in the system. So there is a role-based control for each and every data transfer device we use, so that a secure transfer of data happens and no unintentional data transfer happens in the system. Application whitelisting. When we compare this with the antivirus software, which scans each and every executable or each and every file in the system looking for malwares, and when it finds something, it starts backlisting those. In contrast to that, whitelisting applications only allow the allowed application to run. For example, we have a control system. So the control system uses specific application that's used by operators. So only the required applications are whitelisted. All the other applications which are not required or not whitelisted will be blocked and will not be allowed to run by the system. So a policy is being created to create a separate set of whitelisting policies for the servers and the other applications requirements we have. And when applied throughout the network, all the unknown applications are not allowed to run. So this is an easier way to do rather than scanning each and every file instead of running a complete scan periodically. Asset inventory. When it comes to cybersecurity, the first step is to have a list of assets, whatever we have, a documented record of software, ports, or services of all cyber assets within the organization. So common cyber assets include computers, network components, controllers, remote IOs, programmable logic controllers, instruments, analyzers, HMI, printers, other hardware and software assets connected to the control system network. So we have networks distributed across our various levels, starting from level 0 to level 4. So the OT level, starting from level 0 to level 3, all this network is being scanned by the system, and a dynamic inventory list is being maintained. So the system scans for new assets, records the asset information like serial numbers, IP address, firmware version, software version, protocols, and all other information used. This complete list can be printed or reported or sent over by the email, and it's updated dynamically so that we can keep a track of our assets. Network monitoring. A non-intrusive network monitoring and a situational awareness platform is required to provide in-depth visibility of the network we have. So without this network visibility, we might not be able to see the intrusions in the network. So we need to detect anomalies and do a deep packet inspection with the industrial threat library in particular, which has data about the protocols and the threats at the industry level. So it performs behavioral checks and protects asset owners from advanced cyber attacks, the network misconfiguration, and operational errors. Automatic network map with communication and vulnerability inventory with full device fingerprinting is being performed. And it provides interactive visualization of threats and risks, host properties, activity, configuration change logs, etc. It has an inbuilt threat hunting framework with protocol compliance and behavioral checks for cyber attacks, network issues, with dashboards and reporting. Fleet-wide cybersecurity management. In today's world, we have plants scattered geographically, and to have a cybersecurity compliance or to ensure that the cybersecurity patches are being deployed or monitored at each and every plant becomes difficult when we have multiple plants to manage. Having a fleet-wide management system would help to narrow down to have less resources to manage cybersecurity throughout the multiple plants we have. So each plant would have a local security server, and at the central location, the central location can either be a headquarters or a larger area or even a cloud system where we have the central security servers. By calling it security servers, it can run all the security modules like antivirus, backup, and all the modules which we have discussed so far. And let's say when it comes to the patch deployment example, so the approved patches are being loaded at the central location, and each of the local servers connect to the central servers to download the patches automatically. And the local servers are scheduled to deploy the patches to the local systems. And centrally, the patch deployment statuses and other information can be monitored to understand if there is any node or something left over in each of the sites, and to understand the central cybersecurity status of the system. So this would help us to do the cybersecurity management with less resources and time. Remote service and remote access. We have a challenging environment today. We have travel bans, visitor restrictions, lockdowns, social distancing, and many other things which is putting us in a constraint to troubleshoot and resolve issues at sites where there are problems and the engineer could not visit. So having a remote access to the system in a secure manner is required to keep the services running and have a business continuity. RAP VAC, we call it a remote access platform, in which we create a virtual support engineer who can offer support. So this RAP platform would be installed at site, and this system would be in a secured zone on the DMZ, and it will have access to all the systems in the DCS network, and it connects through a firewall through the ABB systems. And whenever support is required, ABB engineer can connect as a virtual support engineer to troubleshoot the issues on the system and to provide support. So this is the architecture in detail. So these are the local ABB plants or sites which connect to the internet through the firewall. And further on the other side of the internet, you have ABB's remote service center. So these are the communication server and the application server at ABB end. And again, these are the engineers sit over here. So the ABB's support engineers connect through the remote service center to the plant in a secure manner so that there is no compromise or no intrusion in any other manner. So this is totally secure, and the tunnel is created from the plant to the remote service center and not the other way around. So the communication has to start from here and to contact the service center. The service center does not have the possibility to connect back to the sites whenever required. So it is done on a demand basis from site. So this is a secure remote solution we have, and it will help us in today's situation where we have travel restrictions and so on to provide service and have business continuity. So these are the key takeaways we have, we believe. Start with the foundational security controls and work towards a secure reference architecture to leverage on the cybersecurity services and have business continuity. Thank you very much for your time today. And over to Jerome.
Okay, thank you, Bhairoban. We'll go ahead and take some questions for now. And we have one questions. Thailand has passed the cybersecurity bill, but the industry is not active. The active areas are financials, utility, hospitality, and other sectors. Then the question is how to create the awareness in industry. These are very good questions, and not only in Thailand passed the cybersecurity law, but in all other countries. So this kind of webinar is one way how to create awareness into the industries. And we also promote the cybersecurity by going to the, let's say, MNCs or local companies, specifically for their company, how to implement and what's the importance of cybersecurity. So that's why we are very happy that if you let us know if you want to have a session specifically or dedicated only into your company, please let us know your schedules. All right, and then we will block that to our calendar. Vairavan, you have something to add on that question?
Yes, we can have further more sessions to create awareness on a demand basis. They can approach us and we can definitely do that.
Okay, great. So we have another question. How long typically the lead time for risk assessment? Vairavan?
Typically, risk assessment would take a week or so, depending on the typical size of system. For larger networks, we might need some more time. So exactly, we need to first see the system and how many nodes we have, and depends on the sizing of the system, we can come up with the exact time duration. Typically, we would require a week, typically.
Thank you. So we have another good question here. For non-managed account, are the list of approved patches and updates published or available for ABB Symphony Plus users?
For all the approved, in other words, for all the history of the operating systems we have used in Symphony Plus, we have the approved patches. So let's say in case of Windows 7, where the support has ended, we might not be in a position to give the patches as Microsoft is not releasing the patches anymore. So in that case, it has to be upgraded to the current generation operating systems.
Okay, thank you. There's another one here. Can ABB cybersecurity solution be implemented in non-ABB control system?
It depends on a case-to-case basis. So we have to analyze the system first and the needs first. So based on a risk analysis, we can advise on how it can be done and to what extent it can be done.
Okay, so I think for this question, please drop us a email or we will contact you and discuss with you how we can going to implement this into your other non-ABB system. Okay, thank you for that question. So we have another one here. We have our own IT department. Can they do the cybersecurity in our OT or control system? Vairavan?
Yes, typically there is a small difference here. So the IT protocols and the OT protocols are totally different. And having necessary knowledge about the OT protocols and the data flows is required to provide or do an security job over there. So practically speaking, we require experts from the OT industry to carry out the assessments and to implement the cybersecurity needs of the OT network. The whitelisting and the antivirus and all other needs of the OT industry are completely different when it comes to the IT industry. So in the OT industry, for us, high availability is a key factor. When we compare to the IT industry where on a security breach, we normally even block the data. So the priorities on both the networks vary. So that is where we have to understand.
Okay, thank you. So we have another good question here. After implementation of cybersecurity, will it affect my operation when it's scanning for viruses?
Normally, it does not affect. The system's antivirus uses a very less system resources to do scanning and so on, and hence there should not be an impact on the system. And normally when systems are designed, they are designed with this in understanding. such that to have relevant resource requirements like RAM or processor utilization for the antivirus to run. And having it at its online is absolutely normal and safe.
All right. Thank you. We have another very good question here that my system is not connected in the internet. Is it still vulnerable to attack?
Yes, it is. Because internet is not the only source of attacks. Like we already have discussed, employee mistakes and USB devices, which we normally use in the system, bring in data and unknown applications which can, run into the system. So if you take the USB example, even though if we have scanned, maybe if, let's say if the antivirus is not updated or so, it is not able to recognize the recent virus updates, it might still be impacting the system. And another thing is when an employee or someone is using the system unintentionally or by mistake changes a setting which creates a vulnerability or a risk there. So the system has to be irrespective if it's connected to internet or not, there are other ways in which the system is vulnerable and there are risks in which it can get impacted.
Okay, great. Thank you. And then we have another one here. How long it will take to implement the cybersecurity in the system?
It depends again, depends on the sizing of the system and also on the current cybersecurity level of the system. So based on that, we have to do an assessment and come back with the time taken on how to do it or how long it will take. We can assess based on that.
Okay, good. Then we have another good question here. How frequent should the security patches be deployed to the system?
Yeah, security patches are released every month, and it is good to update as soon as possible. So a monthly frequency would be good to keep your system secure.
Monthly. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you. And then we have another one. I think many of our customers have the same problem. We have Windows 7 currently. What's the recommendation to improve resiliency of those old workstations and servers?
Old workstation in the sense we understand you mean to ask the obsolete systems like Windows 7 or earlier ones. So the Windows 7 or the earlier systems are currently vulnerable and we don't have any security patches being released for that. And it is vulnerable to many of the known attacks we have today. So we would advise you to upgrade to a supported operating system at the earliest to improve the cybersecurity resilience on your system.
Okay. Another question here. Will the slides be available after the event? We are recording this event and we will share with you after this session, and we will share it to all the participants. Okay. And then there's another question here. For the customer, the agreement on antivirus in corporate level, can we buy and renew our own antivirus license and not through ABB?
The licensing is a subjective question, but what is more concerned is about the updates being validated. So you have to use only the validated updates on the system. So let's say you have a particular control system, let's say Symphony Plus or 800XA. So these are different platforms, and at ABB we validate all the signature updates over these test beds, and we ensure that the new signature updates are not, stopping or finding the no required programs or a virus or something which might create a big impact when you put it up. So it is necessary to put in only validated updates to your system. So it is essential you have to know the validated updates so that you get it from ABB. So the ones which you have maintained it or taking it from the IT level might not be good to use on the OT level as long as it is not validated. So it is to answer the question, it is essential it comes from the control system vendor or ABB to have these.
Okay, there's a follow-up questions with regards on that previous one. Do you have a site where you publish these validated updates?
Yes, we have a site where we publish these updates. This is again part of our service contract with the respective site, with the respective customer. And based on the service contract and availability, we have these features and we'll provide access to these sites. It's called My Control System. And from that My Control System, you'll be able to download documentation, validation information on the recent products and the recent security updates. Yes, we have those.
Okay, good. It looks like we have covered all the questions, and it's really great and really informative and interactive sessions today. Thanks to all the participants for your active participation. As well, big thank you to Vairavan. We appreciate you being here. So please watch out for our next Tech Talk. We wish you a great and safe day. We look forward to reconnect again. Thank you. Bye.